story, and maybe, I don't know if it's going to be this story, but maybe it is, about prayer in your life and the power of that, and, and how it affected you. Yeah.
All right. You know, I've seen the Lord work in huge ways so many times. It's just like what James was talking about. Like, God is a miracle working God. You know, some churches teach that miracles don't happen anymore. And I really feel sorry for them. I pray for them because miracles happen day after day after day. But let me tell you just one miracle that was really huge in my life and in the lives of my family members. I'm going to talk about a miracle that I got to experience. Some of you maybe have heard this story, and I'm not going to tell the long one because, I mean, I can talk about it for 2 hours. I mean, I received a real miracle, so, you know, it's easy to keep on talking about it because God's just so good. But 11 years ago now, just last month, I went to the hospital very sick, very sick. I was unto death. And the doctors were very shocked because my kidneys had absolutely died. Dead kidneys. So I was going to die. That was that. That was that. But they knew that there was something else wrong with me because my white count, if any of you know anything about medicine, my white count had just shot through the roof. And so they knew there was something more than just dead kidneys. The dead kidneys wouldn't create my high white count. And so they did some exploratory stuff, discovered that my gallbladder was ready to explode. And so they said to me, we can't do an operation on you because your kidneys are dead. You'll never survive the surgery. And so about a few hours later, they came in and said, no, we have to do the surgery because your gallbladder is going to kill you, and you've got to just pray that your kidneys survive. Immediately, people started praying. Immediately, my husband called everybody he knew, and people started praying. They opened me up, took out my gallbladder, and saw that I was all full of cancer. It was one of those things where you hear that story about how they see that you're full of cancer and they go, ooh, bummer, and they close you back up. That's what they did. That's what they did. So the doctors said to me, you're going to die. You have probably just a couple of days to live. And I said, well, I'm just going to wait and see what's next. I mean, to live is Christ and to die is gain. I was going to do whatever it took for as long as I had to live, but I expected that I would be seeing Jesus in a couple days. So honestly, I was living expectantly until that moment. But my family did battle, and the doctor told my David, who's sitting back in the corner back there, your wife only has a couple of days to live, so get her things in order and gather your 4 children so they can say their goodbyes. You've got a couple of days to pull this all together. And so my husband called everybody that he knew, including Pastors Bob and Sherry and the family. And at this time, probably, I'd only been in the hospital a couple of days, and I started to swell up. I really looked like a monster. It's only important for me to tell you that because poor John Robert was like a sophomore in college, and I think that Josh was like senior in high school, and they had to come in because they're obedient and dear, and they came to pray for me. But I looked like Jabba the Hutt. You remember John? There was no definition between my chin and my chest, or my ears, my head, and my shoulders, and I was bright red. No one could explain it. They came from all over the whole country to look at me and poke me and ask me why I had purple streaks and a red body. And so Pastor Bob and Sherry came in, and they brought their 2 boys. Shanna got lucky. She didn't have to come. But I can remember one of the things that Pastor Bob said. Now, you got to remember that I didn't even explain fully that every single thing they could do, all they could do was test me, because my body had begun to reject everything. So they couldn't put me on medication. There was nothing that they could do. Literally, there was nothing. And the doctor said to me, there is nothing we can do for you. Lady, to be perfectly honest, you are scaring the beep out of us. And I went, I'm sorry to be such a challenge for you guys. Honest, I really am. But Pastors Bob and Sherry came in, and one of the things that Pastor Bob said and I remember very well, and my dear David remembers very, very well, was that he said, Lord, please, from this moment on, let every test be better than the one before, and better than the one before, and better than the one before. And it took a while, to be perfectly honest, it took a while, and there were lots of people praying for me. It took a while before, but see, you realize, I mean, I was in the first hospital. I went to 2 hospitals for like 8 or 9 days before they sent me to the cancer hospital because there was no room at the inn. But still, I lingered. But after I got to the second hospital, a cancer hospital, after a few days, the doctors, honestly, again, all they could do was diagnostic, and they couldn't find anything. And they did brain scans and body scans and MRIs. They did transfusions and plasma transfusions and frozen transfusions. They did everything they could do. I had bone marrow studies, everything you've ever thought of. And one day, my doctor came in, and he said, now, something's kind of weird. And don't get excited, because it can't be real. But it looks as though your kidneys are beginning to turn around. I'm like, thanks God. Thanks God. And again, I said, I can't wait to see what's next, doctor. And then the next time he came in was following the day after he had to do a bone marrow study, which, remember, I was like 9 months pregnant in the front and in the back. I looked like a weeble. I couldn't stand. It was like the wobbly, really, for reals. I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. And so he had to do a bone marrow study. It was very, very difficult for him because I was so huge. I mean, the probe isn't even as long as what he needed it to be. But he came in the next day. I am not kidding. I was never mind. So the next day, he came in again, Dr. Sen. I'll never forget him. He came in and he said, now, don't get excited. I got to tell you, this never happens, so it can't be happening now, but I'm just going to tell you, your bone marrow study came back clean. Well, thanks God, because honestly, I was full of cancer. I had cancer everywhere in my body. It was in my liver, it was in my kidneys, it was in my lungs, it was in my brain, it was in my blood, and in my bones. It was everywhere. I had cancer everywhere. And so Dr. Sen said, you know, kind of apologetically, well, we probably got to do the test over because it can't be real. And I said, I can't wait to see what's next, doctor. And so the very next day, the head oncologist at the whole head of oncology for the hospital I was in said, we have to do a surgery. Remember, my neck looked like this, right? So we have to do a surgery to dig into your neck and get the most pristine lymph node that we can find. And it's going to be dangerous because, you know, your neck. And so I said, no, that's fine. That's fine. And still at this point, I'm still kind of thinking, yeah, I still might see Jesus tomorrow. And then like a half hour later, the surgical team came in and they said, please, lady, please tell him you don't want to have that procedure done on your neck. Please, we don't want to do it. We don't want to cut on your neck. And I said, I'm sorry, because he's the one who's in charge of my case right now. So I sent them on their way. And then 45 minutes later, the head of surgery came in with a whole team of people, and he said, lady, please, I am begging you, please don't make us cut on your neck. You will never survive the surgery. You'll not survive. You're too sick. So I said, well, I'm not holding you guys accountable. Nobody's going to sue you if I don't make it through the surgery, but I am going to find out. The whole point of getting the lymph node from way deep in my neck was to determine what kind of lymphoma I had. there are 50 some odd kinds of lymphoma and hundreds of ways to treat it, and I believed that this doctor would treat me the very best way he could once they determined what kind of lymphoma I had. So they did that procedure, and even then, you guys, I was so huge I didn't fit in the gurney. Like, I was like hanging over, and like the wheels like were, my body was on, it was awful. And like everybody, all these attendants were scared and sad and like worried, and it was just awful for them. I just felt so bad for them. So I get down to surgery, and my eyes are closed. I'm just lying there, and they're like, why does she look like that? Is she still alive? And I'm like, you guys, I'm still alive. I'm still awake. Wait till I'm sleeping. So anyway, I obviously survived that surgery, and the next day, my two doctors came in to my room, and they were literally hanging on to each other. And they said, Mrs. Ousterhout, it just doesn't seem real. But we got the results of your latest biopsy, and your cancer is gone. Gone, gone, gone. And I got to tell you, I got to say that, you know, I know that I didn't deserve to be a participant in something so magnificent. I am most humbled that I wasn't able to participate in something like that. And I know that it wasn't about me at all. In fact, I said to the Lord, God, you know, why would you do something like this for one such as me? And when I finally shut up, because I was like on my face, like, oh God, I don't get it. Why would you do this for me? And then he said, Tst, I didn't do it for you. I did it for everybody else who needs to hear that there is such a thing as prayer and moving the hand of God. Miracles still do happen. And I went, okay, that I can live with. Thanks, God. So even the miracles continued on, Pastor James. I mean, honestly, my kidneys are absolutely 100% normal. And this kidney guy goes, seriously, my whole lifetime, I know I'll never see this again. I'm like, it's just God. You know, this is how God, he does big stuff. So here I am. Thanks be to God.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Can we give it up for Cindy? Thank you so much, Cindy. Sharing that. Just the last question real quickly, and then we're gonna have to move on quickly. But how is prayer and worship connected?
Well, worship is actually any act, anything that you do as an offering to the Lord, the way that you live, the words that you choose, the way you choose to see the circumstance in your life, all of those things are an act of worship. Anything can be an act of worship. And I know that we're almost always kind of connecting worship to singing or music. And really, in truth, if worship were only singing or music, then really only a very small population of the world would be worshiping, right? I mean, you know, I make a joyful noise, but nobody's going to put me in the choir. So
I'll put you in the choir, Cindy.
Okay. So that was my best. So that's really what worship is. It's an offering up to God as a response for his incredible, perfect love for us. I want to remind you also that his love for us is perfect. It lacks nothing. There's nothing we can do to improve on it. There's nothing we can do to take anything away from it. His love is perfect for us. And so prayer is the same, James, in that we offer it up to the Lord. We offer up our supplications, our thanksgivings. We intercede on behalf of others. So it's linked very closely, but it's all an act of worship.
Give it up for Cindy, guys, tonight.
Thank you.
So much.
Thanks. Thanks. I'll talk to you.
No, it's great.